Welcome back to GRE Bombs. I hope you guys are doing well. We're back in another question. This is bomb 12. We have a word problem with fill in the box. No longer quantitative comparison, no longer multiple choice question. It's one of those GRE questions. Usually get like maybe one or max two questions where you actually have to fill in the box. Let's read the question. It says there are 400 MMA fighters in the Japanese league. 160 fighters practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, 120 American Wrestling, and 100 Muay Thai. 30 practice both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and American Wrestling, 20 both American Wrestling and Muay Thai, and 30 both Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. 20 do all three. How many fighters practice only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Notice how they capitalize that only right there, because they want to emphasize that the numbers given, for example, this 160 fighters that practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that number also includes fighters that could practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with American Wrestling, Jiu-Jitsu with Muay Thai. It could be a fighter that practices all three martial arts. So we have to start dissecting that 160 fighters that practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to find out how much of those 160 practice only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so the approach that we're going to take in this question, it's going to be one of doing a Venn diagram. So we're going to draw a Venn diagram. Let's use a darker color, maybe this one right here. I'm going to make it a big Venn diagram so we can clearly see all the different groups. Alright, so we have this one right here. Let's say we have another group right here and a third group right here. And let's start labeling them. We're going to have, for example, Jiu-Jitsu. I'm going to put JJ. I'm going to put W for wrestling, and I'm going to put M for Muay Thai. And the entire box includes all of the MMA fighters. So when they tell you those 400 MMA fighters, there's some fighters that might not practice any of the martial arts given. So that would be outside of those circles. Alright, so we usually, when we deal with these Venn diagram questions, we usually work from the inside, the furthest inside, and then we start labeling outside. By the inside, I mean the number that corresponds to the number of fighters that practice all three martial arts. They tell us that what? They tell us that 20 do all three. So that means that in this space right here, we have 20. So I'm going to put 20 right here. Boom, we have 20 there. Alright, so now the job is working now from, slowly going outside, is to fill in this part here and fill in this part here and this part right here. Now notice that, for example, this section right here is the people that practice both wrestling and Muay Thai. Among the people that practice wrestling and Muay Thai, there's also people that practice all three. That's why we have this 20 as part of it. We need to find out this section right here, which corresponds to the people that practice only wrestling and Muay Thai. The section right here will be the section that only practices Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai and not three martial arts. And this one right here is the section of the people that practice Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling and not three martial arts, but only those two. Okay, so they tell us that the people that practice both Muay Thai and wrestling is right here. 20 both American Wrestling and Muay Thai. So that means that the remaining amount is just 0. See, the people that practice both wrestling and Muay Thai are the same people that practice all three. There's no other group of people that practice only wrestling and Muay Thai without practicing Jiu-Jitsu. Alright, so that takes care of this space. Let's go to this one here, which is Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. Let's see. They tell us here, 30 practice both Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Since the total is 30, and that corresponds to this total right here, and we already have 20, it means that the remaining one has to be 10. So that's 10 right there. Alright, now we go to Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling. We have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and American Wrestling is practiced by 30 people, practice both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and American Wrestling. So that means, just like the case we did with Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, in this case it's also going to be 10, because we already have 20 here, so what's remaining is 10. Alright, and then they tell us that the number of people that practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is 160. So 160 corresponds to the entire circle, corresponds to this entire thing. That entire thing is 160. But since we already have 10, 20, and another 10, we have to reduce that from 160 to find out this section here. This section right here, which does not intersect with wrestling nor Muay Thai, is people that practice only Jiu-Jitsu. Alright, so we're going to do 160 minus this 10 right here, minus the 20, minus the other 10. Again, it corresponds from this 10, this 20, and this 10. It's going to be 160. This is minus 10, minus 20, minus 10 is the same as minus 40. And that equals 120. So that means that this section right here is 120. And by that section, I mean this section right here. And that corresponds to the people that only practice Jiu-Jitsu. And that's what we're trying to find. They're asking how many fighters practice only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The answer, you fill it in, 120. And that's it. That's how we work this question out. Again, to recap, what were the steps that we took? They started giving us information about the number of people that practice Jiu-Jitsu, the number of people that practice wrestling, Muay Thai. They tell us that practice both, and the ones that practice all three. We decided to go with the approach of a Venn diagram, and we worked from the center outwards. We started filling up this 20 right here, then the one of the intersection of two martial arts, and then slowly work up to the people that only work Jiu-Jitsu. Alright, this is GRE Bomb 12. I hope to see you guys in another video. Subscribe, like, write comments on the type of questions that you want me to work on. That will be better for me and better for you guys because we work on questions that it's kind of like a win-win. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye.